And joining us on the Medi-Share guest line is Los Angeles Chargers running back Joshua Kelley. He plays college football at UC Davis and UCLA and was selected by the Chargers in the 4th round of the 2020 NFL Draft. He's getting ready to head into his 3rd season. Josh, thanks so much for joining us on the Unpacking It podcast. How are you?
Thank you, man. That was quite the intro. Man, I'm doing great. I'm so excited to be here. Man, God's been good. It's been a blessing. I'm just happy to be alive, man.
Amen. Amen. Well, your smile is infectious, and so appreciate that. But all right, it's the off season right now. It's March, and we're getting ready for March Madness. Free agency's been crazy in the NFL, which has been fun too for fans. But for you, what is the off season? What has it already looked like? What does it kind of look like moving forward over the next couple of months?
Right. No, for me, the off season has always been divided into phases for me. Like the first initial phase, like literally right after the season, is kind of like the more recovery phase and more just like mental, physical type of break. And then like usually going into February, it starts like phase 2 for me, which is actual like I'm back to work, man. I'm back locked in. I'm engaged. And now it's sort of getting to March, man. I'm starting to amp it up a notch. So, I've always liked that, man. I've always been more disciplined when it comes to the off season for me. Like it's never like really just more improvising. Like some dudes just improvise things, but for me, I'm kind of like more detailed and more rigorous with it.
That's cool. So I'm most fascinated by the recovery standpoint. And we kind of hear that and go, well, yeah, of course, tough season, you get beat up. But some guys don't necessarily allow themselves to recuperate because they just want to get right back out there. But I was actually talking to a former running back this week, and he wishes that he would have recovered more in the offseason. He felt like his career was cut short because he didn't recover enough. So that's why that jumped out to me as you implementing that. What do you do and how does that play out?
Yeah. So you know what's funny about that is that my first offseason, right? So I ended up making that same mistake. I was like, as soon as the season was over, I was like, it's time for me to go hard. Like I gotta go to it, I gotta get better. I gotta start immediately. And like going into year 2, I felt the difference. About time it was camp, I was like, I am burnt out, man. Wow. And like it's crazy. It's a crazy process because for me, I'm a workaholic and a lot of guys are too. So it's like we have this feeling like we have to keep on the grind, 24/7, even in the off season. But I've learned, man, just watching lots of guys like slow and steady, you got to peak when it's the right time to peak. So yeah, man, it's definitely like it's awesome because I've learned that this past off season just now, like you got to pace yourself, man. You got to really, like I said, you got to peak when the time is right.
So what kind of stuff did you do to recover or to relax? What was that like for you?
Oh yeah, man. So for me, especially after the season ended, I went straight to God. I was very prevalent in my faith during the season, going to chapel. Obviously, we play on Sundays, so we can't just go to church here and there. But I had to make sure that was number one for me. Definitely because mentally, football can take a toll on you. Studying opponents, studying yourself, locking in the playbook. But the Bible is the playbook. That's the ultimate playbook. Amen. So yeah, man, like just for me, I just really wanted to rededicate myself always to that. And also just for me, man, to enjoy some time with my family. Like some people I didn't get a chance to see. During even home games, you see your family, but maybe for like 10, 15 minutes. Yeah, and then you got to go. So then it's like you kind of want to just, reset yourself, surround yourself with the people that inspired you, that loved you. And then it's just, man, it's always been God for me. That's always been the source.
Start there. Absolutely. We'll get into to more of your faith journey in a little bit. The other thing about the off season, I imagine you get a little more time to maybe watch the NBA. And I'm a Lakers fan. You grew up in the LA area, so you're a Lakers fan. Tell me how you're feeling. What about this season? It's been rough.
Yeah, man. No, it's tough. It's been a tough season for us. I've been to a few games this year, man. And
oh, nice.
Yeah, no, it's been a tough one. I think just the biggest thing is that I just hope these boys just don't give up, man. I just know that there's just a lot of noise, a lot of things that's going into their heads. And there's some games I'm watching, I'm just like, man, like we just didn't try hard. But at the same time, we've been spoiled for so many years watching us win and win and win. We had those down years about 4 or 5 years ago, and then LeBron came and everything kind of like went back to what it was. But I'm telling you, man. I honestly think if they get past the play-in, I
Mm.
think they have a shot. I'm not saying they can make a deep playoff run, but there's still some hope.
There's a little bit of hope. I'm just so concerned that Westbrook just is such a roadblock that he just doesn't fit, and it's just so hard to work around that
Yeah,
because he demands the ball, he has the ball, and it
yeah.
doesn't always end as well as you'd like it to.
No, it's tough, man. You already know how I feel about Russ, man. He's a UCLA guy.
That's right.
So
So you can't. I know that you got to defend him.
hey, man, Russ is like everybody always want to get on Russ, but Russ, bro, like you gotta think about this guy, man. This was a former MVP, and I know what you mean about the fit and everything.
The fit.
But
More about the fit.
yeah, absolutely. But I just think, other than that, there's also been other holes like our defense, our shooting. It's just been, it's been crazy, dog. Like it's been a wild year for us.
It is, and it's hard to see LeBron playing as well as he is, and then the team not necessarily on that same level with him,
Yeah.
or the results aren't there as well as he's playing.
Yeah,
So,
isn't it
um,
crazy? This dude is dropping like 50 points and like his 3-point shot is like, I'm impressed, man, because we've been watching this guy. So LeBron's actually like the first player in my generation that I grew up with. And
for
like
sure.
seeing him have a game where it was mostly about driving in and being athletic to now like this dude's playing in the post, shooting jump shots. I'm like, wow, he really transformed his game to fit his age.
That's right, and yeah, a lot of guys will come into the league, even regardless of the sport, and they're like, all right, I'm just going to be really good at this one thing. Well, he
Yeah.
masters one thing, and then the following off season, he's done that for a number of years, and now 17 years later or whatever it is, he's got a whole repertoire of skills. So,
Exactly. That's exactly. You nailed it.
man, it's impressive, no question about it. All right, well let's talk about. We'll get to your story in just a moment, but just as far as football goes, last season, uh, some great moments for the Chargers, but maybe not as it didn't end as well as the team had hoped, and even for you personally, I imagine. But what was the big takeaway? What were some of the lessons learned from your second year in the league?
Yeah, man, there was a lot of lessons. I think I shared one of them earlier about me just saying I got to be on attack mode 24/7.
Mm,
And like that takes a lot of toll on you mentally and physically. Like I remember just that off season, I was like, I'm gonna just go in and go hard. And about time camp, for me, I had a really good camp and I really loved it. But about time it was regular season, I was like, dang, man, like I was really burnt out. I wasn't really as healthy as I would like to have started the season off. And I was like, dang, like this stuff is crazy. But one thing it did taught me definitely was for sure you have to control what you can. Like
mm.
some days you won't have control over sometimes like, all right, am I gonna be up or am I gonna be not gonna be up this game? It's you have to just control what you can. And that's just your attitude, your effort, and your preparation, you know. And that's just been the biggest thing for me in my whole journey too, is just always controlling how my attitude is, what's my effort like, and how am I preparing. And at the end of the day, if I'm doing those three things right, I can live with the results, you know. And
Mm.
for me, man, it's just been a lot of learning curves. It's been a learning process for me, watching vets, just learning more and more about the game. So it's been really awesome for me, man.
That's great. Well, no, that's a positive approach, and I think for me as a fan watching, I love what the Chargers, just kind of the path that you guys are on, and where the team is heading, and I like Brandon Staley, and so I'm curious your thoughts as just kind of a head coach, and he got a little criticism toward the end, some of the fourth down calls and all that kind of thing, but as a player and just kind of with your teammates, what has been the response and thinking, all right, hey, we made a step this past year, but now we got some excitement heading into this season.
Yeah, no, facts, man. There's a lot of belief on this team. Like, man, like top to bottom, there's a lot of dudes who believe, and like that's how I am. I play aggressive. There's a lot of dudes who play aggressive, play the same way, man. So it's like I feel like that's just gives you the best chance to win. Like, and that's just how I've always been. I think for us, we know exactly what we're capable of. Like, we start off the season red hot. We know we play some really good teams and we've beaten them. So it's like we know exactly what we're capable of doing. It's just now it's like it's time to take the next step, man. Like I feel like I know we've been saying this for years, but it really is, man. Because I think on paper we know exactly what we have. It'll be great to see that next step getting taken to place.
Absolutely. I'm buying in. So I'm right there with you. But All right, that was even before I had John, so I'm already in. Now you come on. I like you, so I'm in on the Chargers bandwagon.
That's what we
But
like to hear.
but let's hear about your story and just fascinating to read. All right, you were a 2-star recruit coming out of college. You end up going to UC Davis, but you had this dream of playing at a bigger school,
Mhm.
and ultimately you end up in some of your backyard at UCLA. So take us in. What was that season of your life like? In what ways did you grow and develop, and how did God kind of lead you through those different decisions along the way, and specifically your college years?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Yeah, like you said, after high school, I was a two-star recruit. I had a really good year my senior year, and I really felt like, honestly, I deserved, based off of what I did that year, production-wise, that I could have played in a big Power Five school. I felt like I was like, man, like, I did really well, but unfortunately, that wasn't the case. So I took UC Davis. They offered me a scholarship late, like 2 weeks before signing day, and I was like, yeah, man, I got to take this full ride. So I was there, man. And, one thing I want to say about my time being there is that I met so many incredible people that God put before me in my life, whether it was coaches on campus, outreach programs, ministry. Man, like these people really helped me, especially in my faith. But it was a good 2 years I had there. But like you said, I've always had that conviction and belief that I could have played at a Pac-12 school, a Big 12, an SEC, or any of those type of schools. And I really prayed about God, going into my final year there. I was like, Lord, like, I'm just going to put my best foot forward. And then at the end of this season, I was just going to leave it into your hands. And it's crazy. My coaching staff got fired at the end of the second year. And I felt like that was the opening. That was the opening I needed. And then new staff came in. And I remember I told them exactly what I was telling you. I was just like, I believe in myself. And I think I'm worth and able to play at a Big 12 school or a Pac-12 school and all that. It was a leap of faith because at the time they're just like, well, you're not really known like that. Like, why are you putting yourself into the unknown? Like, who knows if anyone's going to pick you up? You have a great situation here. You're on a full ride. Like, why would you give that up? And for me, man, I'm so faith driven. I believe in our God is greater. I believe that, faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. And like, how you can say those type of things, but are you going to actually live by it? Are you going to put yourself out there? And for me, man, I was like, you know what? I believe in what my God says. He's not a liar, and I believe in myself. So I put myself out there, and man, it wasn't smooth though.
Uh, what was hard? What was how that practically live out is hard.
Yeah, it was hard because I think once I took that step of faith, but once you really take that step, it's like you can't see it. It's like I don't see the attention. I don't see the coaches calling me, and I have to go out here and do it myself. And I was like, man, like there's days where I was like, dang, maybe I should have not did that. I was like, I think I made a mistake. Yeah, but then you keep holding that faith alive, and like I was just like, man, I've come this far, and I honestly believe. I prayed about it, and I was like, God led me towards this, and sooner or later, man, Deshaun Foster from UCLA came answering my call, and I was like, wow. And once he answered it, it was no going back.
That's awesome. So I'm here in Charlotte, so I'm a Panthers fan. So that name Deshaun Foster means a lot around here. So that's
Yeah,
cool.
no
Okay, so
doubt.
he was the one that kind of recruited you then, and ultimately when you went to UCLA, you transferred there as a walk-on. So
Yes.
that was a big leap of faith.
No, for sure. Imagine like you kind of look at people a little bit sideways when you're like you leave a full scholarship to become a walk-on. It's like what? Like school ain't getting paid for. You're at the bottom of the barrel. There's a bunch of
Yeah.
4 stars, 5 stars ahead of you. It's like, what are you doing?
Is that what your family was telling you?
Yeah, no, for sure, exactly.
Yeah.
So at the
Yeah.
same time, it's like you get those questions, and my mom supported me, my brother supported me, but at the same time, you can tell like, oh man, this better work out for you, you know. But God, like you said, man, like God is he's powerful, he's able. Like look at Job, you look at David, Noah. A lot of people thought they were crazy for what
That's
they
right.
believed in. So I honestly believed in myself, and man, like There was no way that would happen though without my faith and belief in God for sure.
That's awesome. That's encouraging to hear. And my story involves a lot of steps of faith and going out into the wait. What are you doing, Bryce? What are you talking about? And God's been faithful, and it
Yeah,
doesn't. Those have been hard. It's hard to take the step of faith, and then once you get out, you're like, oh wow, this is even harder than I thought. Um,
yeah,
but that's when he shows up, and that's when he gives us the strength and the power to keep going. And he reveals himself in amazing ways. So
man.
that's cool to hear. So there you are. You're at UCLA. So you play there for 2 years, but you redshirted 1 year. I guess were
Yes.
you there for 3 years then? Is that right?
Yes. So I got
Okay,
there 2017. And this was before the transfer portal rules.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah, so you had to sit out. And I was like, oh man, I just missed it. If it was today, man, we could have just immediately
Let's
been
go.
up.
Okay, so then to go from the kind of the bottom of the barrel, hey, you're new to the team and got to earn your stripes, so to speak. How did you end up becoming, the MVP of the team and having a great couple year run there that sets you up to ultimately get drafted?
Yeah, no, I think it was a combination of a lot of things. I think for me, I stayed true to who I was. Like
Mm.
I didn't come down to Westwood and trying to change up. I didn't come down there and like, oh well, like I'm at UCLA now. Like I did it. My focus was like, oh, I'm here now. But now it's time for me to kind of validate myself. Like I wanted to be at a big time program and excel. So that's the goal. And I've
Yeah.
always kept that the day one mission ever since I stepped foot on campus. There were NFL players there, NFL coaches there. So I knew I was like, man, like it's go time. So I kept myself focused, man. I went to class, and
Mhm.
and going to
That's
class
key.
helps. It helps a lot, man. Yeah. So I think for me though, it was the biggest thing was like keeping the main thing, and also, man, like once Chip got there, definitely opened up some doors because
Chip Kelly.
he came. Yeah, Chip Kelly came there, and he was just like he was with the just giving everybody a shot, he was just with it. He came into it. He came in real and was like, everyone's gonna get a chance here. And I love to hear those words. I like it when everyone's gonna get a shot, no matter if you're a walk on or scholarship, because that's what it's about to me.
So when you went there initially, Coach Mora was the head coach, right?
Yeah.
So you had no idea that he would end up leaving. Chip Kelly would come in. He ends up, I guess, liking you enough to give you a shot and give you a scholarship.
Yeah.
And so again, you step out in faith. You don't know how it's all going to work out, and then
Yeah.
that happens. That's cool.
That was crazy, man, because when Bora got there, I was like, oh man, this is Coach Moore. Like he's gonna be here for years, man. Because this dude he's an incredible coach and an incredible guy. So once he got fired, it was a little more so just like I was like, wow, like here we are again.
Mm.
you know,
Yeah,
I was just
yeah.
like, now I gotta prove myself to a entirely new coach, entirely new staff. And when you're a walk-on, it's like, oh man, you don't know what your stats is gonna be like. But but Chip, he came in there and was just like, this is gonna be more so everyone's gonna give a chance, and I'm grateful for that.
That's neat. So, all right. So you end up playing well, and then you head into the NFL draft 2020. So that was during the Rona. So that was a crazy time. So what was your draft experience like, and what kind of indications did you have that the Chargers were interested in you, and how did all that turn out for you?
Yeah, no, it was crazy because I remember the draft started in January, training, Senior Bowl, come back, train some more. Then you got the combine. Then pro day got canceled because of the coronavirus. The scheduled workouts with teams got canceled. So then it was more so just about like, all right, like interviews, virtual interviews with coaches. So that was the first time tapped in with the virtual.
Yeah.
So then it was interesting. I didn't have much contact with the Chargers during the virtual phase. I spoke to them quite a bit, a little bit at combine, but more so like it was just a shock just how draft day unfolds. It's like you're sitting there looking at your phone, looking at the board, seeing who's next, who's best available. It's really nerve-wracking. Like I don't think I've been that nervous in my entire life. Just seeing like, all right, like you don't know. This is totally out of your hands.
So were you locked in for because the fourth round? I can't remember that year how they set it up from a TV standpoint. But were you watching every pick, or how did you handle all that?
Yeah, yeah. So day one, I was chilling. I was like, all
Okay.
right, this is day one. You know, this is the first round pick. So I was like, all right. Day two, I was still kind of like, yeah. I was chilling until, you know, I saw a lot of bastards get taken off the board like crazy. And by the time it was like round three, like mid round three, I saw that I was up next in the board. And I'm just like, oh my goodness.
Here we go.
So every vibration of your phone, every single little tick, you're like thinking, is this gonna be me? And you start getting nervous, and family starts looking around like, oh, is this it? So then, yeah, about time it was day three, bright early in the morning, I was just like, wow, like super nervous. I'm just like, no, man. It was
Oh,
crazy.
so you had no idea at that point where you were going.
Oh no, none idea,
Okay.
bro. Like
Wow.
honestly, yeah, man. If it was a lottery pick, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know, man.
Man. Well, I'm sure you get asked all the time. So you end up in your hometown. So you get to play at UCLA, close to I guess close to where you grew up, and then
Yeah.
being able to play now with the Chargers in LA. What are the advantages of that and the challenges with that?
Yeah. No, there's definitely pros and cons. I think the pros is definitely that I'm familiar with the area and that for sure it's like, all right, you have family, you have people around you that you know. It's just familiar faces and like more so the like kind of the relief that's like, all right, I know kind of what to expect in this area, like rent, prices, the market, like all sorts of type of things like that. I think the
Interesting.
cons are definitely like since people know you're local, they just kind of want your attention more. It's like,
Mm,
oh, you're around. We could you do this? Like, oh, you're around. Like, come say hi to me. I'm just like, man, it's
yeah.
during season. Like you gotta like, you know, it's just more so of that kind of that hassle with and like bunch of
More
people
noise.
hitting you up for tickets. It's
Yeah.
like, man, like I wasn't prepared for that. So definitely pros and cons.
Gotcha. No, that makes sense. Well, all right. So you've talked about your faith so far, but I'm curious, kind of take us back into the faith journey. When did God really reveal himself to you for the first time? And when did you ultimately start following Jesus and really make your faith active?
Yeah, great question. So I got saved when I was 11 years old, I believe. I remember vividly, I was in the seventh grade, and I was like, wow, I've been going to church my whole life, pretty
Mm,
much, because my mom was really devout Christian, and she raised me and my brother in the church, and we was there a lot. And then there would be times where I was just like, oh man, like this is a hassle. We have to keep going to church. But I didn't really make that decision that I really wanted God for me until I was about 11 years old. And that's when I really start to really dive into the word of God and like really understand it. But at the same time, like I would say that like start to actually develop a relationship with God right when I was kind of like towards the end of high school, beginning of college, right when I was like, I can feel a relationship. Not so me just saying, oh, I'm a Christian, but actually having a relationship. I would say, yeah, during my years of college. And that's really when I got really closer because, man, there was just a bunch getting thrown at you in college. You're away from the first time from home. And it's just like, you're just around a lot of influences, new people. And I was like, I got to make sure the source is the main source.
mm. Amen. No, that's great. And so I noticed on your Twitter profile, people use different phrasing. I put follower Jesus. You put servant of the Lord. And so
Yes.
I'm curious kind of, why that phrasing and what does it mean to you to be a servant of the Lord?
Yeah, man. I think I live by that because I believe that we are all called to serve. And like I think
Mm,
service is one of the best things and one of the honestly most important things of your walk with God. Look at Jesus. He was the ultimate servant.
mhm.
Talk about God in the flesh. And he comes down here and he's not only looking for people to say, like, oh, like everyone repent, turn to me. I'm the way. And yes, he said those things, but that wasn't his sole mission. It was to show us how to love each other, how to service each other. If you look at
Mm,
man, Jesus, washing his disciples' feet to the
mm.
point where it was just like he did a lot of things of serviceship, and relationships. And that was the biggest thing. So I think the feeling if you get of serving other people, that's what we're meant here to do. We can all claim to be this and that, but I think serviceship is like putting this all into practice.
Amen. Absolutely. Well, so all right, couple years in the NFL, in what ways has your faith grown and been challenged, maybe even in some ways that we haven't necessarily talked about yet?
Yeah, no, for sure. I definitely think it's been grown in the fact that you get some stuff thrown to you. You kind of get more access to money, more access to different sort of places, to other people. And you're also playing your sport at the highest level. There's a lot of attention that comes with that and a lot of things thrown at you. And I think when things become sort of like almost overwhelming to me, I really start leaning back more on God because you can get lost.
Mm.
And like I feel like initially me coming in, I was a young guy, I was just like, dang, like you can get lost with this. It's like, wow, like I have quite a bit. Like I have this now, I have access now. And it's like you start feeling yourself a little bit, and then you start feeling yourself, you can sort of get out of touch. And like for me, I can't get out of touch, man. So I think that's been a big challenge is like sometimes you can really get lost up in what your status is. And sometimes you think things are like owed to you. Like,
Mm.
for example, it's like, oh, I put the work in, I'm owed a spot, I'm owed playing time, I'm owed this because this is what I do. I'm reading the Bible, I'm praying, so I'm owed this result. And that's not necessarily the case. So that's just think for me as a Christian, that's something that I've been challenging myself on is actually like saying to myself that like all I deserve is nothing, man. Like we got grace from God. Like my
Amen.
identity isn't football. My identity is a man of Christ. And man, so I think for me, just that's been something I've been learning.
Wow, that's a powerful principle that we all have to continue to learn, because I think too often we feel like we're owed. We're
Yeah,
owed. People owe us something, or God owes us something, and when we have that humble approach of really what I'm owed is death, because I'm a sinner, and that's what I'm owed. So,
yeah,
and beyond that, it's all blessings and it's all God's grace, and so it's hard to live that way day in day out. But man, when you describe it the way you did, that's encouraging and a wonderful lesson for all of us to consider today. So
thank you.
I
Praise
appreciate
God.
that. That's cool, man. That's awesome. Well, I guess we'll end it right there. Other than I just wanted to ask kind of one final thing, just as far as the Chargers and thinking about next year. And as a fantasy football guy, Austin Eckler, huge year, helped me out a lot. So
Yeah.
he's right there in that running back room with you. What have you learned from him? What's it like playing with him? And then, of course, quarterback Justin Herbert coming on strong. I was actually reading some comments. You were in on Justin Herbert even before the world knew how great he was. You were talking about how great he was in the offseason before year one. So what just kind of what do you make of those two teammates and what can you share with us today?
Yeah, no, those guys, they're phenomenal, man. Like you said, like it's crazy. Like for me, man, like they're just phenomenal players, and that's the biggest thing. Like you're kind of in awe, and like there's just been a lot of times where it's just like, man, you really learn things from watching people, from watching people's routines, like the way they take care of themselves, and like it's been great. It's been great for me just learning from those type of guys. Like, all right, like this is what I like about them. This is how I can model my game after. And just like the way, honestly, like I really love the preparation process. That's
Mm.
just been the biggest thing. There is no coincidence, why those guys are as great as they are. It's the details they do in the offseason, the details they do during the season. And like that stuff counts, man. So
Mm.
like their job, man, it makes things easier for me, just learning and learning. Cause I've been soaking up lots of knowledge, man. And like that's the best thing about this business.
That's excellent. Yeah, preparation. That's a good again another another good lesson for all of
Yeah,
us. So that's excellent, man.
exactly. And
Well,
look,
yeah, go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say, and it could look in different ways. Like one guy may prepare a certain way, that another guy prepares a different way. But at the end of the day, man, it's kind of the same thing, but it could look so many unique different ways. And that's the dope thing I've been learning too.
That's right. And yeah, the reality is we can't prepare for every crazy
Yeah.
circumstance and the uncertainty of life. But like you were talking about earlier, we control what we can control. We prepare the best that we're capable of preparing.
Mhm.
And then we step forward in confidence and knowing that the Lord is with us and we can get through those difficult circumstances that do pop up. But
Yes,
knowing that we're being good stewards of what He's given us and we're preparing the best that we can. So that's a
absolutely.
good lesson as well, man. Well, Josh, gosh, this has been an awesome conversation. So glad we connected and loved having you on the show and can't wait for the next time. So we'll be pulling for you.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. This has been a blessing, man. I love this. So yeah, if you want to have me on, I'll be there. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Absolutely. Well, enjoy the rest of the off season. hopefully the Lakers can sneak in and win that play-in game and make a little run. So,
yeah, no, we're hoping. We're putting our hope alive still, man.
that's right. With LeBron, there's still some hope. There's always a little bit of hope.
There
So
always is, man. He's all-time great.
absolutely. Well, Josh, appreciate it. He's Josh Kelley, LA Chargers running back, joining us here on the Unpacking It podcast on the Medi-Share guest line.